The aeroplane was built first in '49, and it's still flying operationally today. It is astonishing, really, and a great credit to the engineers and the designers. And remembering also that it has been operational right through its life. Some mark or other of Canberra has been flying operationally for all those years.
The English electric Canberra, Britain's first jet bomber, was designed in the mid-1940s by W.E.W. Teddy Petter. Her powerful engines, clean lines and high-quality flying controls made her more than a match for any contemporary fighter aircraft. The Canberra set over 19 speed and 3 altitude records and was used by 16 countries around the world. Designed from the outset as a high-altitude, nuclear-capable medium bomber, her large internal bomb bay was a major feature. The Canberra enjoyed a long career in her intended role, but such were her attributes that she was also used as a low-level intruder interdictor and as an electronic warfare platform. But it's her photo reconnaissance role that has proved her most important and long-standing duty. 39 1PRU is the only remaining Canberra squadron in service with the RAF. With the capability of both military and civil aerial surveys and surveillance, and tactical and strategic wartime reconnaissance, the squadron is constantly in demand all over the world. It operates 5 PR9 versions of the Canberra, which was the final development of the airframe.
What you can see here then is the nose cockpit of the PR9, and as I say, this is where I operate. I do have an ejector seat, so I can get out in a hurry if I need to. It goes up through a hatch. What there is a distinct lack of here, of course, is a canopy and windows. I've got a couple of little windows, one either side, usually known as day-night indicators, because that's about all they're good for. But apart from that, there's very little light that gets into this. What I do have, however, is this bit of equipment in the centre here, and that's my recce sight. And what it allows me to do is to see vertically out of the aircraft, so that I can see what the Zeiss camera is seeing. This is the camera that points, as you can see, vertically downwards out of the aircraft. It'll be rolled back when in flight, and we'll look through this camera flat here. This is the camera that has the 9-inch frame negative. Very large format, so you get very, very high resolution pictures from this. And we use it probably more than most of the other cameras that we have on the aircraft. To compensate for the movement, because unlike most people who take a photograph who are standing still, we're moving, and we're actually moving fairly fast on occasions. We tell the camera how high we are and how fast we're going, so it'll actually move the film slightly as we're flying along.
We have the capability to fly quite a long way, take imagery and come back without the need for a tanker. And even the Americans have agreed that at high level this airframe is a very, very stable platform for electro-optical imagery, which we do, and they've been very impressed with the results that we get from this airplane.
The electro-optical camera, or sensor as it's known, was originally designed for the U-2 spy plane.
They offered us one in the mid-90s because they were running out of U-2 pilots and aircraft and wanted somebody to help. We took up the offer, and we had one installed on a Canberra as a trial fit. It was so successful that in fact now the images that we collect, the Americans admit, are better than the images they collect from the U-2.
This impressive sensor has a mirror lens system with a massive focal length of 12 feet. It can provide detailed imagery from over 50 miles away. Equally impressive is the state-of-the-art navigation equipment needed to operate the sensor.
That's a ring laser gyro inertial nav system with a 12-channel GPS that is extremely accurate, because to point the electro-optical sensor that we have, which is like looking down a straw, you need really accurate nav kit to know exactly where you are and where the target is, and then you can point the sensor right at the target. The Canberra, the PR9, is an incredible amalgam of very old equipment with very new equipment, and it does all fit together very nicely indeed.
Spares are obviously not freely available. As we get into our 50th year of operating the aircraft, some of the stuff coming up has been in packaging for 40 or 50 years itself. Fortunately, the Brunel build that they have has meant that they've been fairly bulletproof, and that's why we're still here. It's the fact that the aircraft is very robust, it's very good at the job it does, and it's able to be repaired. Other marks have been and gone. Other aircraft have tried to do the same job, and they just cannot get the imagery sharpness that we can achieve.
What we've got here are a couple of images that were taken fairly recently in London, and I'm sure most people can recognise exactly where they are. The first one was taken about 1:45, and that's the top one. That was taken from about 40 miles away. And you can see there's plenty of detail to be seen in that image. The original image was much bigger than that. You know, sort of half of London basically would have been in that image. The second one was taken about 1:10, about 25 minutes later. That was taken from 12 miles away. And clearly there's an awful lot of stuff to be seen there, and it's more than enough for the likes of Dave here as the image analysts to pick out all sorts of intelligence just from that one image. A lot of the time we're working out in conditions where there isn't much haze, there's no cloud, it's hot and it's dry, without going into too much detail. Those are ideal conditions for this sort of sensor.
The significant difference of the PR9 over the other marks that were ever made is that the fact that the main plane was widened by approximately 2 feet on the wingtips, and the chord width was increased again by about 14 inches or so, front and rear. Gives it a very wide chord wing, which gives it a very stable capability at high altitude in the thinner air.
One of the things that it was a great shame that they didn't change when they built the PR9 is that they put these very old-fashioned, old-style spectacles controls in rather than a single stick, and that would have made it a lot nicer. I would have been able to see all the instruments as well. Compared with a modern aeroplane, certainly the pilot of a modern aeroplane would find this a bit of an ergonomic nightmare because the instruments are not laid out in a particularly convenient method or pattern for you know, scanning them when you're flying on instruments. So Canberra pilots tend to be very good at instrument flying.
The cockpits are only partially pressurized, so when flying at 50,000 feet, the crew actually experience an altitude of 26,000 feet.
That's pretty high actually, for humans to be floating around on a regular basis. You have to breathe oxygen at those sort of heights, otherwise your performance is severely degraded. So we breathe oxygen all the time, and it also gets fairly cold for me.
The navigator's freezing up at high altitudes, whereas the pilot is roasting.
The big drawback is that he has the heating controls, so he can make it hot or cold as he desires. Most of them take pity on the poor navigators and have it on fully hot, so they then get a bit overheated. Even so, I still get very cold on long flights at high level, and generally speaking, around about my feet, it's about -5. So you're sat in -5 for about 4.5 hours.
To give you some idea of the PR9 in relation to what's in service now, the PR9 engines, which are derived from the Lightning fighter engines but without the reheat, deliver somewhere just in the region of 11,200 odd pounds of thrust dry. That gives it the power to weight ratio to be able to outclimb a lot of the aircraft that are in service now.
It'll outclimb certainly the F3, and it'll outclimb the Harrier in the mid-20s and certainly the Jaguar. And it'll outturn them when it gets to high level.
The design works. When you see it flying, you know that that aircraft is supposed to fly. It's graceful, sleek. It can be very quick, as some people have found out to their cost, thinking that they can overtake it in the air and being left embarrassingly in a cloud of dust and other bits. The PR9 is no slouch. It's a boy's own pilot's dream.
The higher speeds, our turning performance isn't quite so good, but at low speed, between maybe 250 to 300 knots, we can perform very effectively against, or we could, against aeroplanes such as the Lightning, the Phantom, the Buccaneer. They would all have trouble staying with a Canberra slow turning fight. They would never stay with it. If an experienced fighter pilot engaging a Canberra at low speed, he would just get out of it because he'd just end up in a turning circle and he wouldn't win. He'd just run out of fuel. So the airplane has an advantage there, but of course you still end up sitting in the same part of the sky, so all he has to do is fly away and then take a long shot at you. So you don't actually achieve anything apart from proving that you can't get right at your backside.
March 2006 is the end date for us as an operational aircraft. Things that we'll lose then are, well, basically for a while, everything that we've got. There are plans or suggestions to put the EO, the electro-optic, into other platforms, but what will go, and currently will never be replaced, is the wet film. It is old technology, it's been around for many, many years, but it still does have a place, in my mind. It still has a place, and it has a utility, a great utility, which the electro-optic side of stuff doesn't really replace on a one-for-one basis.
I should be very sad to see the aircraft go. Yeah, I've got over 20 years of blood, sweat and toil into the aircraft. 3, 4 o'clock in the morning trying to get them on the programme for the next day. So to see something disappear that I put so much time and effort into, yes, it's going to be very emotional. They are family.
I suppose if you're looking for a replacement for a Canberra, then the only other airplane that could replace it is a Canberra. That is a fact. There is nothing else at the moment that can do the job that we do.